In this video, we will be setting up Obsidian for daily to yearly rollup. We will go through the daily, the weekly, the monthly, the quarterly and yearly notes. We follow a daily notes first approach, which means we start each day with that specific day's note, but we want that information of that daily note to roll up to our weekly, to our monthly, quarterly, yearly for reviews. At the end of this video, you'll have built something like this. Don't let the goofy pictures discourage you. I just use it to create a little bit more fun for myself. But you can see on the left hand side we have the daily note, and that's where you capture all information. And that information automatically gets rolled up to your weekly, to your monthly, quarterly and yearly. And here's some of the functionality that you can see that you'll have at the end. Now what to expect? We'll set up Obsidian from scratch. You don't need to know anything about this tool. You don't need to know what community plugins is. You do not need to know any coding. We'll go through everything from scratch. You can follow along. By the end, you'll have exactly what I have. We'll concentrate on a daily to yearly workflow. So I'm going to teach you how to use it. We're going to create the templates, and we're going to go through examples, and we have some bonus content, some bonus graphs, which I'm also going to teach you how to do, which you can incorporate into your weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly reviews. Hi there. My name is Dee, and I am a PKM expert. I've studied the field extensively, diving deep into best practices, strategies, and methodologies surrounding personal knowledge management. I've read countless books on the topic. I've built a successful YouTube channel surrounding personal knowledge management and consulted countless on how to optimize their own knowledge management systems. If there's something to know about managing your knowledge better, I've probably encountered it. For those with the means and the money and don't want to spend the next 2 hours setting everything up themselves, you can go buy the finished vault on my website, and this really helps me to stay motivated. It makes me happy to see that people find value in it. But if you don't have the means and you have the time, this video will teach you how to set everything up from scratch exactly the way that I sell it. I also have consulting services, and this is for people who agree with the methodologies that I teach, but want to get up and running a little bit quicker. So I have a personalized service, which I help people to set everything up with a couple of methodologies, help them work through problems that they might not understand yet, and help them set up their personal knowledge management system in Obsidian the way that they want it to be set up. And with that, we can jump in. As always, we start with a completely blank vault. If you're new to Obsidian, go to the Obsidian website, download the Obsidian software on your Mac or PC, open it up, and you should be greeted with a box like this. We are going to create a new vault. You're going to choose your vault name. You can call it whatever you want. And we're just going to call this one D Daily to Yearly, because it rhymes, and when you use rhyming, people remember it better. D Daily to Yearly. You're going to pick your location. Your location can be anywhere on your PC, on your Google Drive, on your iCloud. For me personally, I use Google Drive so that I have all my files, because it's basically just a markdown editor, meaning it's a folder on your computer with a bunch of notes in it. So I want to be able to retrieve that folder with all my notes anywhere. So it syncs to the Google Drive cloud, and I can open it up on any PC essentially. But you can choose. Me, I'm going to save it in my Obsidian Vault location, and I'm going to click Create. And when you click Create, you are going to be greeted with a welcome message from the Obsidian team, and we can go and right click and press or click Delete. We don't need it. Now you have completely blank vault. If we pull up our location where we saved this Obsidian file, I want to show you how Obsidian works, just for some of you to understand better what Obsidian does to the notes behind the scenes. I opened up my Obsidian file on my computer where it's saved, and the only folder that's in there is the .obsidian. If you don't see it, it's just being hidden by your Mac or your PC. You can Google how to see your how to reveal all files in a location. This .obsidian file is automatically created by the Obsidian application, and it's basically just a messenger for Obsidian on how to interpret and visualize your notes. You can see there's no other folders, but in our Obsidian, we want to use a couple of folders. So that's what we're going to start out with. And as I create the folders on the Obsidian side, I want you to see what happens on the file directory side. And if I create a file on the directory side, meaning Google Drive, just go into that folder and create a new note or create a new folder, what happens on the Obsidian side? We go and we create our first folder. Ooh, accidentally created two, so I'm just going to delete it. You can see it created an untitled folder. And in our file directory, we can see it created there as well, because it's the same thing. Obsidian just reads this. So we're going to rename, and we're going to call this first folder attachments. Then we want another folder, which we're going to call journal. And in the journal folder, we want a couple of additional folders. We want the 01 daily for all our daily notes. We want the 02 weekly for all our weekly notes. And as I'm doing this, let's open up that newly created journal folder in our file directory. We can see the two folders are there already. And what happens if we go to our file directory and create a folder here, just for those curious folks who want to see what happens. We call it 03 monthly. And as we create it, we can see it created on the Obsidian side as well. Obsidian just reads it from this file location. So now that you know what's happening with the file directory, I'm just going to close it down and we're going to continue on the Obsidian side. The next folder that we want, 04, quarterly, and 05, you guessed it, yearly. Go into the future, man. Then we have two more folders. We close up attachments and journal, create another one. This one is notes. And these are all our notes. We don't have any subfolders in this notes folder because we just want to dump all our notes. It's going to be meetings. It's going to be recipes, it is going to be people, it is going to be anything and everything is just going to be dumped here. And the way we retrieve it is through our home pages or map of contents or MOCs or data views. And don't get scared about these big words that I'm using if you're new to Obsidian. I'm going to go to templates. So now we have four folders. We have attachments, journal, notes, and templates. Templates is where we're going to have all our templates. Let's say you go into a meeting at work. You want a meeting template, basically a structure that you don't have to type everything out, saying this is a meeting, #meeting, and then you have heading 1, tasks coming out of this meeting. You just have a skeleton which you can just copy paste essentially. So all our templates are going to be stored here. Now that we have, just close this graph view. Now that we have our four folders, we want to add some functionality to our vault. So we just want to jump straight into the community plugins. And you can think of Obsidian as a software. It comes with certain functionality. With community plugins, it allows you to basically activate additional functionality. So now we're going to go and activate the additional functionality. So we go to settings. We can see we have core plugins. So these are the core functionality which Obsidian comes out with by default. And we want to add some extra functionality for our purposes. So we go to community plugins. We're going to turn on community plugins. And we're going to say browse. The first community plugin that we want is going to be templater. And templater is just going to point to this template folder location. And when we want to activate a meeting template, templater is going to go to that folder and it's going to pick the meeting template that we created and it's going to paste it on the new page or the new meeting note. I'm going to click install. I'm going to click enable. I'm going to click options just to change some settings. And we want to say automatic jump to cursor location. Yeah, you don't need to know what this is. Next one, also activate this. We want to specify at the top. We want to specify where our templates are stored. And it's going to be in a templates folder. The templates folder. And let's see if there's anything else that we need. No. We are good to go. We're going to go back to community plugins. We're going to click browse. The next community plugin, the additional functionality that we want, will be data view. And data view just allows you to retrieve your notes in a very specific way. So let's say you have 1 million notes in your notes folder and 5 of them are tagged #recipe. Data view allows you to write a little bit of code in the data view language, which is not that difficult, and I'm going to show you how to do it so you don't need any coding experience. What data view will allow you to do is go search my entire vault, my entire folder structure for Obsidian, and retrieve those 5 recipes. And then it retrieves it out of your 1 million notes that you have, it only retrieves 5 recipes that you are looking for in a table format with specific detail related to those notes, with specific details that you want to pull out from those notes. You can also pull it out as a list. You can search for tasks. You can use data view to go look at specific folders, yada, yada, yada. All you need to know is that you need to click the install button, and later on we're going to play around with data view queries. And let's click enable, let's go to options, and here's a couple of things that we need to change. First thing we need to do is just activate everything. Don't need to know what this does, just do it. We're gonna scroll down, and the date format is the first thing that I'm going to change. I do not use August 01, 2024. What I use, and what I would recommend you use if you follow along with my videos, because there's a lot of other, let's say, templates and data view queries that relies on this date, this specific date format. So if you want to change to another date format, which is used maybe in your country which you operate, you would need to change a lot of things. You can do it, but it will take some extra effort on your side. Then for the date plus time format, we also want to just highlight everything, delete it, and use this date format. And you can see it changed to 2024-08-01 and the time. That's all the changes we want to make on data view. The next one, which we're going to use for our journaling purposes to easily switch between daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly, is going to be the journals plugin. Now, this was from my previous video, which I just quickly ran through my idea for my daily to yearly rollup, and a couple of the members and comments suggested that I use journals, and I want to play around with it, and I must say I really like it, so I'm incorporating it. Thank you for the suggestions. Got to go to journals, and we're going to click install, and we're going to click enable, and we're going to click options. So for me, I normally start my week on a Sunday, and you can see you can add a couple of journals here. So let's add calendar-based journal. The name is going to be journal, the ID journal as well. I'm going to click add, and you can see there's some toggles for daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. And what this will do is it's going to go look at the calendar, and it will allow you to easily use your daily to yearly templates. So let's say you enter into a new day, you want the daily note template to automatically activate on this day's note, which the name is this date. So today is 2024-08-01, the 1st of August, and that would be the note's name. So we want to open up our notes whenever we open this vault, because we operate through the daily notes first methodology, which means your daily note is your home base for the day. Everything else splits out from the daily note. Everything else is kind of a side adventure. Your daily notes is your main adventure, your main quest for the day. We want daily notes, we want weekly notes, we want monthly notes, we want quarterly notes, and we want yearly notes. We'll come back to the settings for each once we've created our templates. So we still need to create our daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly templates. Once we've created that, we'll come back and we'll specify where the journal plugin or the journal functionality needs to go find our templates. Okay, so we're going to skip over this. We're going to go back to community plugins. The next plugin that we want is going to be a call out manager. This is just to make things look a little bit prettier from our call outs. And it's going to be this one, call out manager by FP. So thank you, FP. And essentially what this does is it allows you to create these little blocks with certain icons and your own name. And it provides you just to make your vault a little bit more customizable to what you enjoy. I found this is the easiest way to create callouts. You can do it through the backend, through the CSS code, but this does almost exactly the same thing, but just in a very non-coder friendly way. So we're going to install it and enable it, and later we'll come to the options and we will create new callouts. Go back to community plugins. Our next community plugin will be charts. And this would be this one. And we're going to click install. And this is just for our weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly roll-up from our daily notes, just to have some visualizations. We'll come back to this later as well. More for the visualizations part or the roll-up part, we want the heat map calendar. And the heat map calendar just gives you visuals like this, which I am going to add to a couple of the templates, just so you have the option to see which one you like. I'm going to click install and enable. Then the next one, also for visualization and roll-up purposes, we have the tracker plugin. A tracker plugin allows you to create these type of almost habit trackers for different things that you are tracking throughout the week. And we're going to click install. And we're going to click enable. And I think we are good to go. We'll get to the theme settings a little bit later. So for now, these are the community plugins which we're interested in. So let's start creating our daily to yearly note templates. I'm going to run through this one quite quickly. You can pause if I'm going a little bit too quick in order to write out the code. To right click on our templates folder, we're going to say new note. And this is going to be called the daily note template. And the code looks something like this. So one thing I want to change is the reading versus live preview mode. So you can see if we click here, you can go to editing where you can write things, which I'm just going to take out. Let's say write something. And if I go to reading mode, I can't write anything. This is just basically a page that I cannot edit. But I want to get to the code behind all of this. So I'm going to go to settings. I'm going to go to files and links. No, I'm going to go to editor, and we're going to change this live preview to source mode. So now we can actually see the coding, how it looks behind the scenes. And if we click on reading mode, you can see that it changes it to something that's a little bit more readable. So for our YAML front-end matter, the front-end matter, this is basically information or metadata about this page. You can see it's specified between these 3 little stripes or dashes, and within it is just some data about our page. So we have the date, which is created by templater code. And what this does is it just finds the current date that you are on this calendar. So if you click on the 15th of January on your calendar, it will know to go look at the file name, which is automatically going to be created by the calendar or the journals plugin. And it's going to know that, okay, we are looking at the 15th of January, not today's date. So what this code does is going to go look at this file's name, and it's going to just change it into a date format. For aliases, this is alias for your name. Tags, this is a type daily note. I want to track my log sleep hours, my log sleep rating. I want to see log healthy food rating. And I'm actually going to change this to log healthy eating and log day rating. Then the calendar view. This is from the journals plugin. And what this does, it allows you to navigate to the previous day to the next day. Let's see if it pops up something. If we go to reading mode, note is not connected to a journal. So you can see that this is not yet connected, but once we've created, we'll go through an example to show you what this looks like when it works. We have pictures. Again, this is just going to show today's date, and this is where you're going to paste your 3 pictures. We have morning pages. For the morning pages, we have a section on this day, which is just going to retrieve previous notes on this day from previous years. So we're going to see snapshots into previous years if you've carried on with your journal, which I would advise you to do. It's very insightful. We have notes created on this day, so you can see all the notes that you created on this day, just to see what you were busy with. And then we have tasks, which will pop up here. Then below it, this is where I do my morning brain dump or word vomit, where I just get everything out of my head and onto paper. And then log pages is where we start our journey for the day, and we go on our little side adventures at different times. Then evening review is just where we quickly review our daily food. So what did we eat? And you can see at the top, we have log healthy eating. And here we have log daily food, log day review. And this is essentially the daily note template. So what does this look like? If we go to the calendar icon, if you go to calendar icon, you can even move it to the front. You can see that we are currently on the 1st. So if I create it, this is what it looks like. It created metadata using the journals plugin because we haven't connected our template to the journals or the calendar yet. So you can see it didn't produce anything. So let's delete this. And let's go to settings, go to journals, go to settings under daily notes. And this is where we want to change a couple of things. The first thing we want to do is, where should this file, when you create a daily note, where should it be saved? We want it to be saved in the journal daily. Where is the template which it should use? It is the daily note template in a templates folder, and the date format. The date format, this might not seem intuitive, but it will make sense in a second. We want the default date format to be the same here. But if we keep it like this, it's just going to go into this folder and paste it there. And if we open it up and we open up the daily and we create or click on the calendar, you can see that it just popped it in here. But after 10 years, you're going to have so many notes. So you kind of want more folder structures, so you can quickly jump between the months and the years and not get too confused. Let's say you only want to look at notes in 2024. You don't want to see all the other notes in this folder. So what we do, in order just to organize it a little bit better, is we specify that whenever there's a newly created date, we want it's in this format. That's still fine. But we wanted to create a folder within our daily notes folder. And we specify that by doing yyy / month, and then our name. You can see it's going to create a folder under the daily folder called 2024. Within that 2024 folder, it's going to create a folder called 08. And within that 08 folder, it's going to drop this note. So let's see what it looks like. Let's delete this. And let's create it again. And let's see what happens. Now we can see in our daily, it created a 2024 folder. In a 2024 folder, it created the 08. And now we have our note. So let's see what it looks like when we go to a previous year. Let's say the 9th of September. You can see that it created 2023 folder, 09. So it's just a better way to organize it. And we're going to do a similar structure for the weekly, monthly, and quarterly, and even yearly. So now that we understand that, we can carry on to show you what the daily note actually looks like. If we go to reading mode, you can see that we have our date, which it filled in correctly. We have tags, the type daily note. We have all the metadata, which we're going to fill in at the beginning and end of our day. And then this is just metadata that's created by the journals plugin in order to render this cute, quaint, beautiful little navigation bar. And this just allows us to quickly jump between different notes. So let's say we want to create tomorrow's note. We want to create the second note. We can just click on this and it automatically creates it. And let's say we quickly want to go back and see what happens yesterday. Cool. And let's say we want to go to the week. We can click on the week. We can click on the month. We can click on the year for that specific day. It's a very easy way to navigate. Then we obviously have our pictures. We have our morning pages and files created this day. So you can see, no, not files created this day. This is going to retrieve all the notes with 0801. So if we had a daily note for 2023 0801, and let's actually do that. So now we can see we have 0801. And if we go back here, we can see that on this day, we have 2023. And we can just hover over it and quickly see what happened on that day. Very nice for reflection and just to see how much you're progressing throughout your life and reminisce about the better times in life, the good old days. Then we're going to look at notes created on this day. You can see that there's something not working 100% properly. No, it is, because we haven't created any notes yet. And tasks, if we have tasks, it will also pop up here. The code, if we go into the backend, looks like this: data view, task, where not completed task, and we're basically retrieving everything within this month. You can change it on a daily note template to on this specific day. So then you would just change in your task data view query, you would just change this little piece to say tp.file title. So you basically just have this part without the format, and then it should work. So for that, it should actually let me just show you, because I've had this question before where people just want to see a task on a specific day. It will look like this. So instead of this, you're just going to go day, and then you have the two different ones. So if you rerun the code, it should work. So let's just quickly check the first one, which we had, which is still on this. It's going to check everything in this month. So if we have on our log, let's say task, because that's how it goes and finds the different logs which we have. This is a task for the month of August, and we have a specific day somewhere randomly in August. Then this should pop up here. So if we go to reading mode, you can see it pops up. But it doesn't pop up for the specific day, which is 0801. So if we delete this file and we create it again by just clicking on the calendar, you can see that there's no tasks now. And we need to take the first one out just to show you what it looks like. I'm going to revert this back afterwards. After I've showed you this example, let's quickly delete this again. Let's create that day and just check if this code works. And that won't work. So we need to take this. You can see that the code that was rendered, it's going to look for anything with square brackets, this day, but then we have this another. Then we have another little dash, which shouldn't be there. It won't pick everything up. So we just need to go back to the code and delete that little dash. So delete it. Go back here. So let's just quickly delete that again. Go to our calendar, click on the first and check if it worked. Go to reading mode. You can see there's no tasks. So let us, in order to make this a little bit easier to understand, let's go to Files and Links, Editor, and we're going to change from the source mode to live preview mode just to show you. So here in tasks, we have no tasks, but if we create a task format and we say task, this is a task for, let's again put somewhere randomly in August. You can see that it won't pop up here. But if you say for this specific day, then it should pop up here. And you see it pops up here. So now you can click it off from here. And because you clicked it off, it disappears because that's what the code specifies. If it's completed, it won't appear, but if it's not completed, it will appear. So that's a quick, simple way how you can change this code. To change it, I am going to revert back to default. I'm happy to see just all the tasks in this specific month. Then we can delete this again. Then we have our log pages, and it just goes off on our little side adventures with us always coming back to the main adventure. And then we have the evening review, which we're just going to say what we ate and how our day went. So there's a couple of things that I want to change, just looks wise, which I think I want to do already while we are creating the Daily Note template. Let's delete 2023 and these two can stay. So a couple of visual changes which I want to make. I want to make these callouts something that looks better to me, not just a pencil. I want to change the icon. I want a different theme. And I also want to change the CSS code because this is not a task, but I want it to act as a task so we can use this functionality of the task. The first things first, let's go and change our appearance. So we can see the default theme is applied. I want to change it a little bit. I want to choose the minimum theme because it's easy enough to make changes and for you to customize the look and feel of your Obsidian. So we're just going to click install and use. You can see it automatically changes some things. And let's see what it looks like. You can see it just looks a little bit smoother to me. You can close the properties. The next thing that I want to change is I want to change a couple of these callouts. So now we can go back to our callout manager and we can make some changes. So let's create a couple of callouts. You can see that there's a couple of default ones which comes with Obsidian, and the way you use them, just type in callout manager, edit callouts, and then you can essentially select which one you want. So let's say we want to indicate there's danger. You can click on this little arrow, and then it adds it to your current page. So now we want to create our own customizable callout. I'm going to go to settings, I'm going to go to manage callouts, and we are going to say here at the top, we're going to click on the plus. And the first one, let's see, the first one is on this day. And we're going to call it journal, and we'll choose which icon we want. So go back to callout manager, manage callouts, plus, and we call this one journal. This is how you would look for this callout when you create it. I'm going to choose, you can choose between different colors. You can see at the top, this is how it's going to look. For me, I like gray. And the icon for my journal will be, let's think, let's go for something like history. This one looks good enough. Okay, so now we can see that if we reload this, so Command P or Command Palette, reload app without saving, it changed this callout to something that just looks a little bit better. Okay, for the next one, we want a calendar, and then we also want a task. So you want to change these callouts to also look like something more presentable. So I'm going to say calendar, going to create, I'm going to choose the same color just because I like consistency and I like a sleek look. And we're gonna choose a little calendar for ourselves. And let's actually go with pencil, pen maybe. Yeah, let's go with this. So we can see it's been added. Next one we want is picture. Let's add a picture callout. I'm going to make this gray. It's going to be an image, and sometimes you just need to look for one that suits your needs. Then I want a task as well. If I don't have a task already, I want a task callout for my tasks. I'm going to also make this gray. I'm going to choose a check. This one looks good enough for me. And let's add another one which we're going to use later on, which is highlight. Again, gray, and I want a star list. And I think we are good for now. So when we go back, you can see it's not updated yet. So we're gonna go to our command palette and reload app without saving. This looks much better. You can see with the headings, because of our style settings, it looks a little bit small. So let's say you want the level 1 and level 2 headings, like let's say there's pictures, level 1 to be bigger than level 2, which currently it all keeps it the same, even though this is a subheading of this one. So let's go make some stylistic changes on the headings front. And to do this, we're going to go to our settings, and we need to go download another community plugin that works with this theme that we downloaded. We downloaded this minimal theme, and it made a couple of stylistic changes. In order to change it more to our needs, we need to go to community plugins, browse, and we need to look for style settings and install and enable and options. You can see it takes you to this community plugin style settings. You open up the minimal, and you can see there's a lot of things that you can change how it acts within Obsidian. The thing that we are currently interested in is headings. You can see level 1 heading has a size of 1.125. Level 2 has a size of 1, so not a big difference. Level 3, 1, not a big difference at all. So for my needs, I want to see the different heading sizes. So I'm going to make my heading 1.75, and you can change it. You can play around to see how you want your headings to look. For level 2, I'm going to make it 1.5 instead of 1. For level 3, I'm going to make it 1.25 instead of 1 as well. For level 4, I'm going to make it 1 instead of 0.9. And for level 5, I'm going to make it 0.85. And yeah, we can just keep it there. Okay, so now if we go back, we can see that our headings are a little bit better. So you can see that this is a subheading of this one, and this is a level 2 heading. And let's see what a level 1 heading looks like versus a level 2 heading. Yeah, you can see this one is bigger. So let's just revert. Now that we made those changes, we can start playing around. Let's go to the weekly note template. There's a couple of settings which I quickly want to change before we go to the weekly note template. And that is just with regards to switching between reading and writing mode. So I want to teach you how to quickly use the hotkeys, and you just say reading, toggle reading mode. For me, it will be Control E. And this allows me to shift between reading and writing mode. Another thing that we want to check is we want to check that files and links, when we create a new file, we want it to be saved in our notes folder. So we're going to say default location for new notes in the folder specified below, and we're going to say notes. And for default location for new attachments, we're going to say in the folder specified below, attachments. That's where we want PDFs, videos, pictures to be saved. Now we can go to our weekly note, and our weekly template will look something like this. I'm going to say new note on the templates. I'm going to call it the weekly note template. And the weekly note template looks like this. So if we go to reading mode, we can see if we go to editing mode, we're still in live preview. So let's just go to appearance and say, editor. That isn't source mode. Let's go to hotkeys again. Just check reading, toggle reading, editing, source mode, toggles, live preview source mode. This is the one which we want to change to Control E. And let's just check what the conflicts are. So the red shows that we have some conflicts. Let's just change that back to the normal one. Let's see if this works. Yeah, that works fine. So the weekly note, we have the date, which just goes to the start of that week based off the note's name. So we are in week 32. So this date would be the first day of that week, which starts on the Sunday for us, and that's the 4th of August. The calendar view will do something similar for the week as we've done for the days. You can see this little piece of code or widget, which we can navigate between the days and go to a specific week, month, year. If you look at the editing mode, it's exactly the same code, but this code for the week will pick up that it's a week. So then you can navigate to the previous week or the next week. What this code does is it returns all the pictures. So for each day we have a picture. And what the weekly note will do is it will go to all the days in that week and return the photo. We have highlights. We want to look at our life through rose-colored lenses. And we are placed on this planet Earth to enjoy it. We want to know that our lives are meaningful, that it's filled with excitements, that we've left nothing on the table. We don't want to regret. And one thing I found which makes me happier, is to appreciate the good things that happen in your life and reflect on them. And what this highlight does is throughout the day, if something stands out, if I had a divine, luxurious time at a restaurant with friends, that's a highlight. I want to remember that, and I'll write something about it. If I had a good workout or went for a good run or played with dogs and it elevated my mood, I want to capture that highlight and reflect on it at the end of the week. For the daily reviews, this was something which we just want to see at the end of the day. What happened? And you can see it pulls on log day review. So if you go a daily note, you can see we have log day review. Now the wheel of life. The wheel of life, let's add another note. And because we've changed the default location for new note, it should automatically pop up on our note. So we can click Command N on the Mac to create a new note. We're just going to call this Wheel of Life. And Wheel of Life, we just fill it in with a bunch of data. You can see that there's some source information about other YouTubers talking about the Wheel of Life. I have a little bit of summary. Essentially what this is we have a couple of buckets. And at the end of each week, we're going to look at each bucket and give ourselves a score out of 10. If you did all the exercising that you planned to do at the beginning of this week, you wanted to go to the gym each and every day, you wanted to do 3 yoga sessions, you want to go for 2 runs, and you complete all of those set out tasks that you had, and you ate nothing wrong, no sugar, no bad food which is bad for your health, only good food, then your health and fitness will be a 10. If you went to 7 social engagements and you felt that that was a lot of socializing that was meaningful to you, your social bucket will be a 10. Now, this is just a way for you to get to the end of your week and look back on all these buckets of your life and see if you made progress towards it. If you consistently see that your finance bucket is a 1, which means that there's something that you aren't happy with, it means that you need to pay more attention to it. If your love and relationships continuously feel like a 4, it also means that you need to put some effort into it. If your soul feels like a 1, it means that maybe you should do something which makes you feel more grounded, more in touch with nature, more in touch with your God. For personal growth, same thing. Like, let's say you feel like you haven't experienced any personal growth in the last week. That might be a sign that you should learn a new skill, read a book, or instead of watching Netflix or just random YouTube reels and videos, watch a documentary about a subject that interests you. So I found that this is a nice reflective tool, but I also use this tool at the beginning of the week saying, how am I going to get this bucket, all of these buckets, as close to 10 as I possibly can? And it feels like my life is a little bit more in my control. I know if all of these buckets are a 9 or a 10, I'm going to feel great. And I'm a naturally pessimistic person. I wouldn't say negative, but I always look at the negative side of things. I have quite an analytical brain. So my mind immediately goes to bad scenarios. So I'm not inherently a happy person, even though I look happy on the outside. I think and I worry about things all the time. And I sometimes feel like life is out of my control. But with this, it feels like I have gained a little bit more control over my own happiness and fulfillment. So Wheel of Life, we can specify the colors, just a quick little piece of code where you can choose which colors you want. So I just put in some random RGBA colors. You can see that you can change it. And then I wrote a little bit about each little point. Now, if we go back to the weekly note template, we have our Wheel of Life, and then we have our different buckets, which we're going to give a score. So this is where you reason out for yourself why you gave yourself a certain score. I've put this into the logredis format to make it retrievable in the future. So I want to be able in the future to pull out all the soul categories that was a 9 just to see for that week what made it a 9. And I haven't written the code for it yet, but it is possible. I just know it's possible. So for me, I just want to put all my data into a usable format later on. You don't need to do this in a logredis format. This could just be specific to your week and be used as input for your graph inputs. But I like to future-proof things just a little bit. And then we have statistics. Now statistics, I'm just going to check these search targets. So these are just the metadata fields on our daily notes. I might have gotten some of these wrong, but we'll check when we test the weekly note. What this one does, it creates a calendar graph for your day rating, sleep hours, and healthy eating. And just gives you a quick view to see how have you been progressing on these, let's say, indicators of your day. You can see that we have thresholds. We'll talk about this a little bit later. And then we have averages for exactly the same buckets. So you can choose which fields you want to track and just add them here and add the dataset name. But for me, I'm just interested in tracking these four metrics, and then I output the average. So let's see what this looks like. Let's start with a new day. So let's say we are on the 4th. Let's fill in our daily note. We slept 8 hours. Sleep rating was great, so it's a 2. So I use a -2 to 2. You can choose which scale you want to use, but I would say to get used to my template, just use the same -2 to 2 scale, -2 being the worst, 2 being the best. Enter, shift, enter, log healthy eating. Let's say I had a pretty good day, but I ate some bread, which is not in my diet plan as healthy. Shift, enter, log day rating. This was a great day. So photos, I'm going to put in my feet photos for the first day. And you can see that these photos aren't really lining up, so there's something that we need to change. I want to have the 3 photos next to each other, not underneath each other, because I feel it takes up a little bit too much space. And in order to get the 3 photos next to each other, I think we need to install another community plugin, which works with the minimum theme. So minimum theme settings, install, enable options, and we're going to scroll down to image grids. This is the one that we want to switch on, and all that this does is it makes it look better. So for me, this looks much better. So for Sunday, we have this. On this day, we can see a year back and basically all the notes that happened throughout all the notes, previous notes that happened throughout the previous years. Notes created this day, tasks, brain dump here, log pages, and let's say food, good, healthy day of eating. Apple, pie, banana, chocolate. And day review, a day of feet, foot fetish payouts. I made cash dollar today with my foot side business. Went for a run, worked on my bunion, don't know how to spell that, bunion, there we go. And alias, if today was an extremely good day, we want to say that this was a very good day. So only days whose aliases are filled in, it pinpoints something remarkable. So let's say you got elected as the no, just go to mode. The Presidente of the United States of South Africanus. This highlights that this day something big happened. This is a milestone day. And this is only reserved for days that was or went exceptionally well. For the next day, let's say we had 7 hours, and we're filling in these details to showcase you how the weekly note works. So let's say this was a 1, healthy eating. Let's say we had a very bad day of eating, went out, had McDonald's, had a lot of desserts, had chocolate fondant, everything that you can imagine to eat that's unhealthy, you ate. And the day was a 1. Now we want to add some photos for the day. And the photos will look something like this. So add your pictures here. Yes, sir. And we just add our little pictures here. And this is what it looks like. Nice. On this day again, notes created this day. You can see we created Wheel of Life today. So we have a modified, tags, summary. And you can add or take away some of these fields. So let's say you don't want the modified, you can take it out by just going to that piece of code. So notes created this day. You can see that we are pulling in created, update as modified, tags, summary. So let's say you don't want the updated or modified, you can just take it out. And then we have our tasks. Log pages, let's say evening review, food, good food, good Monday stuff. And let's do one more. So we can either go to the top, get reading mode, and if you click on 6, you can see you can go to here or this arrow, either one. Let's click on the arrow, automatically creates that notes day. Let's say we slept terribly, 5. Sleep rating -2, healthy eating let's say it was, say a -2, log day rating -2. Add some photos. You can see why this day was a -2. And obviously you can take this out of your template. This is just a little bit of a prompt for you guys to get used to it. And we can see the day that we didn't have such a good day because it was a -2 day rating. But we transition into this body shape. So yeah, maybe not the best day. Mark food. Good. Choose yay. Food. Not bad for a choose eat. Worked on me legs. Okay, so let's see with these 3 days filled in for the week 32, what it looks like. We first need to go to our settings and go to our journals plugin. So this is journals. It ties our templates to our calendar, to our daily notes. So you can see we have already created the journals calendar. So let's go edit it. You can see we only have the daily note template on this calendar activated. No, we have all of them, but for the daily notes, it's the only one that's really filled in with the correct template. You can see we have the template. So let's go to this one. You can see nothing is filled in yet. So the weekly note, if we click on the weekly, it won't work because it's not pointing to a weekly template. So first things first, we want to make sure that the date format, that whenever it creates a new week, that it goes to the journal, it goes to the weekly folder, and it creates a new folder like we did for the daily. So it automatically creates the year and the month. For the weekly, we want to do the same. We want to do the year and the month. And that looks like this. If it can't find the current year and month folder, it will create the current year and a subfolder month, and then it would place the weekly note in this format in that location. The folder, we want 02 weekly, and the template will be the weekly note template. And then we are Gucci. So let's look and see if this template works as expected. The only way to get better at this program and learn how to adapt it to your needs is to understand how it works. And that's what I'm trying to do in these videos. I'm trying to get you familiar with how everything ties into each other so you can change it, unravel it, and make it useful for you. There's a couple of ways of how we can create the weekly note. We can either click it here in the calendar. So let's just do that first. And we can go to reading mode and just see what it spat out. So in our weekly note, you can see it has the start of the week, type weekly note, start, end. And this metadata is automatically filled in by the journals functionality. And you can see that we don't have that metadata in our template, but it does add the metadata here. And that's the journals plugin that automatically comes and adds this. And the journals plugin, which uses this little calendar nav as well, uses this data in order to make this little navigation bar usable. So you can click on next, the previous. So let's start from the bottom up this time. So for statistics, you can see that the average healthy food rating for the week so far, only for 3 days, is -1. So over those 3 days, we have an average healthy food rating of -1. We have, over the 3 days, average sleep hours 6.7, not too bad. Sleep rating 0.3, 0.3. Then we have the calendar graph. And the calendar graph, we can see that we have this little line. That is when we are basically maintaining a good level of the day rating or sleep hours, healthy eating. So you can see for day rating, we had 2 days, which was quite good. The lighter, the worse, the brighter, the better, or the more green, the better, I would say. So you can see on the 6th, we had a -2. But on the 5th and the 4th, we had 2 and 1, so that's not bad. Sleep hours, we had 8, 7, and 5. Healthy eating. So you might wonder, when is this little bar connecting the 2 days? And if you go to editing mode, and you go to the calendar graph code, we can put the thresholds of what is considered good and what's considered bad. So any day above 0.99, meaning a scale from -2 to 2, anything above 0.99, we are going to give it as a good score for log day rating. Also above 0.99 for log sleep rating. Now for log sleep hours, anything above 7.5 hours, meaning 7.5 hours, is good. And log sleep rating, log healthy eating, apologies, is also above 1. So you can switch this or these thresholds to what you want. So now we have our statistics. We can start filling in our wheel of life. If you want to remember what you did throughout the week, I would suggest just go to the week, go to the pictures. You can see, okay, cool. All the pictures are being brought in automatically. Great stuff. And then we go to highlights. For highlights, you can see there weren't any highlights. So let's say we went to today. Well, let's go to the 4th. And we say at 9 a.m. got my first feet OnlyFans payment. Sweet. And we can do something like this. Log highlight. And what I like to do is I like to put a little trophy for myself. Log highlight OnlyFans payments. And now if you go back to the week and go to highlights, it pops up here. So then you can see all your highlights right here. Now one way to make it a little bit simpler for ourselves is we can add a little mini template for ourselves. A template that would automatically add this for us, and then we can just go and type what we want. So for this, we'll go to templates. We'll say a new folder, and we'll just call this log templates. And we'll say this is log highlight. And all that we want is we want a little victory cup. We want to say log highlights. Then what we want to do is we want to add some templater code just to jump around. So what this code does, when you create this template or choose this template on a specific day, it would automatically make the cursor jump to this location. So let's say you want to automatically have this cursor, meaning this blinking cursor that you see now be here, you'll add it here. But yeah, for us, we just want it at the end. So let's see what this looks like. Let's say on the 5th, we at 10 a.m. We want to add and highlight that we played with a puppy. We're going to click Command E. Okay, let's change our hotkey. So you can choose what hotkey you want to assign to templates. Create new note from template. Insert templates. This one, I'm going to add Command E. You can add whatever you want. For me, Mac, Command E. Now if I press Command E, no template folder. So let's go to Templater and just make sure that it is working. And this is good, because this means we are problem solving a little bit. And one thing that we do want to do is go back to hotkeys, because I think I assigned two templates and not templater. So I'm just going to undo this. We're going to go to Templater and I'm going to change this Open Insert Template modal. I'm going to add a hotkey, which is Command E. So now, if we get to our daily notes and want to insert the highlight, we can press Command E, and it pops up all our templates from our templates folder, and we want log highlight. And now we can just continue. I played with a baby Labrador. What do you call? And you can have any other additional details underneath. What do you call a dog that is also a magician? An abracadabrador. A labracadabrador. Now if we go to our weekly, and we go to our highlights, we have both highlights. Daily reviews, we can see daily reviews, and we can give our log weekly review. And then Wheel of Life takes some time to load, so let's give it some time. We can fill in soul, career, work, love, relationship, health, fitness, personal growth, fun, recreation, and you just say why finance you gave a certain score, why social you gave a certain score, why love and relationships you gave a certain score. And what I like to do is at the beginning of the week, I have a little area. So I open up my weekly note before the week starts at the beginning, and I'll just start typing above the week. Actually, I have in my personal vault, I have a section which I call week prep. Week prep, and this is where I just run through all the things that I want to get done this week. I just sit and I think about my different areas: work, personal, social, love and relationships, and I try to envision all the things that I'm planning to get done this week, all my priorities, and then I try to assign it throughout the day. So let's say I want to go gym 5 times this week. Gym. That is a goal that I set for myself. So if I go to the gym 5 times, that means that my health and fitness will be a 10 because I went to the gym 5 times. Gym 5 times. And that tells me that I completed the goal that I set for myself at the beginning of this week. So I've reached my perfect state. I've reached the future version of myself which I want to be, because I've set the goal, and because I've set the goal and I managed to achieve it, which means that I'm one step closer to the person that I want to be. This is just where you type in whatever you want. So rough gym sessions with sauna. And now this is where you can go full in the health and fitness. All these little numbers that you gave for each category, you need to go fill in here again. So for health and fitness, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll change this to a 10. Now you can see that health and fitness was a 10 because I reached all my goals. You're going to do exactly the same for the rest of them. And that's your weekly review. There's some things that you can build in to make this review a little bit easier. I'm quickly going to show you. So let's say for soul, one of the things that you're trying to do is you are trying to meditate more. And you want to see how many times this week you meditated. You can use something similar to, let's say, the highlights code. So you can just copy paste the highlight code and paste it wherever you want. I'm going to delete this later, but I'm just going to show you how to do it. You can change this to meditation sessions, the heading. So now if you go to this, you can see meditation sessions, and it still has the highlight because I haven't changed any of the code. And instead of log highlight, we want log meditation. You can see when we open it up, it's going to be nothing. But let's say on the 5th, we had a meditation session at 1300. Let's say meditation. That looks good enough for now. Log meditation. Duration 15 minutes. Using Medita, and our goal was to log meditation. So this is a couple of ways where you can retrieve the information that you've done or accumulated throughout the week, and you can just paste it here to make this review a little bit easier. That's ultimately why we do these logs, is to bring in somewhere where we can use it again. And this is a perfect example of how you can use it. You want to check how many times this week did you log a meditation? How many times this week did you go to the gym? How many days this week did you get into bed at a reasonable time? How many social engagements did you go to? For all of these scenarios, you can just change this piece of code to what you want. Log meditation, log social, log gym, log exercise, log date nights, log whatever you fancy. So I want to delete that, but just wanted you guys to know how to do it. So that's it for our weekly review. One thing I do want to add to the weekly note template is this weekly prep. I think it's just a nice place for you to start with your week and give your intentions and look at the wheel of life, all these different sections. And for soul, see what you want to do. I want to meditate at least 4 times this week. For career, I want to apply for a new job, or I want to make sure that I get to certain key indicators of performance, KPIs for those working in finance. For love relationships, you want to go on 2 or 3 dates. For health and fitness, exercise 7 times a week. Personal growth, you want to read a certain number of pages of a book. Fun recreation, you want to go to a festival and you want to have 2 nights where you're doing something new. Social, just hanging out with friends. And finance, you want to work towards increasing your sense of well-being in the financial space in your own life. So that might be just getting a grasp of where you spend your money, where your money is going to each month, subscriptions on food, groceries, on enjoyment or social. So you can just take that information and do something with it. Now, at the beginning of the week, you can influence these categories. And I'm pretty sure if you have a 10 out of 10 for all of these, you had an excellent week. The only way to get there is to be intentional about your days and weeks. So we're going to include this week prep, which is, it's free flow. You can just write whatever you think on the Sunday when you're doing your weekly prep. So we're just going to go to weekly, and you're just going to say weekly prep. And within weekly prep, I'm going to keep this open so you can input here how you want to approach your weekly preparation. A couple of ideas could be just to look at the Wheel of Life for soul and then break it down per category. So soul, yoga, 4x, for health and wealth. The goal, we can put in like this, goal. Health and wealth, go to gym, just say gym 7x. Romance, 5 dates, something like that. So it's very open-ended, but I do think we need to include the weekly prep to be intentional about our lives. And we have that. Let's create our monthly note template. Gonna open up a new note in our templates folder. We're gonna call it monthly note template. And the monthly notes template looks something like this. Scroll all the way to the top. We are in editing mode, so we want to see all the code. We're going to run through it, and we're going to see what it looks like afterwards when we create a monthly note. We have our metadata at the beginning, which date, and this automatically goes to the start of the month. So the start of the month is the first of that specific month based off the note name, which is going to be, in my case, year, month. So it would say 2024-08 in August. And we have tags, which just specifies that this is a type monthly note. The calendar view is going to be the same as the daily, weekly, but just catered or tuned to the monthly note. So the navigation is going to go to the previous month, next month, and you can still go to the quarter and year. This piece of code just brings back all our pictures. Don't really need to know how it works. Just know that it is based off of our monthly note, year, month format. So if you want to change this to another type of format, it will possibly break this piece of code. Again, I offer consulting services and I help people tailor their vault specifically to their needs. So if they want to change something, I don't know how, you can book a session and I'll quickly be able to help you. I mean, I've been spending a lot of time with these data view queries in Obsidian. I have spent more time than I care to admit understanding these concepts and understanding how you can change it to basically do anything that you want. So you don't want to go through that learning curve. I've already done it. I think that's the beauty of a modern economy, is we have people that can specialize in things, and I specialized in Obsidian, or PKM, Personal Knowledge Management. I'm tool agnostic. And then we have highlights, standout days. Now, this is the first time when we see this piece of code. I told you earlier that on a specific day, I think it was the 4th, I got elected as the Presidente of the United States of South Africanus. This, just by me filling in this alias, means that something spectacular happened on that day. In our monthly note, we want to extract those excellent days. So let's say in the month of August, we had 2 days which were standout days. This query is where we're going to retrieve those days to get an overview of, okay, in the month of August, how many standout days did we have? Then as our weekly note, we have the highlights, which is going to retrieve, and then we have all our weekly reviews. And we can give our month review. And we have the Wheel of Life. And the Wheel of Life is also something that we fill in manually. We have the same thing as with our weekly. We are going to go at the end of our month. We're going to check finance, social, to do. We're going to run through all of them after we've done our statistics and looked at the pictures and look how many Excel sessions we've had. We can fill this in and fill up this visual of Wheel of Life for this specific month. Then same as the weekly, we have our statistics. We have the calendar graph, which this piece of code says which month it should start at. It's going to take all the information of all our days, but it's going to automatically make this calendar graph open up on this specific month. And averages, we have our start date templater code. So this is the code in order to get our averages calculation going. And we have our start date, which would be the first of that specific month, and the end date, which would be the end of that specific month. And then we just calculate the averages. And there's one thing we still need to change, which I haven't changed yet, which is log healthy eating. So the 4 metadata fields that we want to pick up is log day rating, log sleep rating, log sleep hours. And I still have this one, log healthy eating, log health food rating, which I changed to log healthy eating because of reasons. Eating. So we just want to change that and healthy eating. This is just what it's going to be called in our visual. So this dataset name, you can call this whatever, but the search target, this is the actual metadata field. So for log day rating, it's going to go look at that specific month for each specific day, log day rating, log healthy eating, log sleep rating, and see what its field was. So we just want to change that, log healthy eating, and log, let's see what we call then the weekly note. Average healthy food rating. Yeah, that's fine. Let's just keep it the same. And oh, okay. We want to move this monthly note template just to the normal templates folder. Just wondering why it was disappearing now. So this works well enough. Let's go back to our daily notes quickly and just, no, we don't need to. We know that we have these 3 days filled in. Let's go to the first and just delete this day because we don't need it. And let's go to the second and just delete this day because we also don't need it. So now we have 3 days that we filled in. We have the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. We have our weekly note, which we can see we have our week prep, we have our week with pictures, highlights, daily reviews, we have our wheel of life, which we filled in, we have our statistics, calendar graph, and statistics only for that week. Now we want to fill in the month. So there's a couple ways we can do it. So we can either click on this navigation on our weekly note, August, or on a specific day within that month. We can also click on August, or we can say Command P and say open monthly note. So journals, open monthly note. But I would say the easiest is either to click here or here. So let's just say with the calendar, it's always going to be there. On this specific month, we want to create the monthly note. Let's click on August. It does something wrong. And the reason why it's doing something wrong is the same problem with our weekly. We haven't specified where it should go find the template that we just created. So we created a template, but we did not connect it to the journals community plugin. And you can think of community plugin again as just extra functionality on your device. Let us delete this note, which it wrongly created. Let's go to settings. We're going to go to journals. We're going to go to the journal that we created, calendar journal, edit. And you can see daily, weekly, monthly is the next one that we should go and specify where it should go, where it should be saved, which template it should use. And we want the format. Well, first of all, if there's no here, meaning in this folder, if there's no here folder that was created, we want it to create that here folder. So we want to say here, and say /, and then the format that we want it in is year, month. So you can see this is what it's going to look like. This is the note's name, and it's going to create the 2024 folder in our monthly folder, meaning this guy. So if there's not a year folder, it's going to create it, and it's going to save it in our monthly folder. The template is the monthly note template. And that's about it. So let's see if it works. So you can see in our monthly folder, it's open, but there's nothing in it yet. So if you click on August, let's click on August again. You can see it created 2024 and we have 2024-08. So let's see what this looks like. As always, we have our two YAML front-end matter that we specified in our templates. And it also created the journal's metadata, which feeds into this little ribbon that you see here to go to the previous month, next month, here. And now we can see all our statistics. So month, you can see that it's going to return all the photos. You can see there's a lot of days that we haven't created a daily note. We only created 3 notes, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, and it returns the pictures. Then we have our standout dates, and we only had 1. I got elected. So if you had 5 standout days where you film the alias, so if you go alias, you fill out the alias, it will return it under standout days. Then we have highlights. It's going to return all the highlights for this specific month. We have our weekly reviews. So let's say in our weekly review, a week of feet and hand photos. And we can say good week, good soup. And we can see all our weekly reviews. We can insert our monthly review. Our monthly review would then be, well, let's go to make it a little bit easier to show you, switch between editing and reading, which I'll switch back a little bit later again. Let's just go to live preview. So I know some people found it easier to do live preview. So for monthly review, this is the monthly review for August 2024. Mostly monthly. Observation 1, observation 2. So we have our pictures, we have our standout days, we have our highlights, we have our weekly reviews. Then we can go to our wheel of life. Our wheel of life, we're going to fill in all of these based off our statistics, how much sports we did, how well did we meet our weekly prep goals, and then we'll fill in this chart by filling in for each spiritual, career, love, relationships, health and fitness. And then we can see what our score was for a month. And we're always going to use our statistics in order to feed into these social finance and all of our other reviews. So on day rating, you're going to see this for the entire month. We can see how many linkages we have, meaning how many consecutive days of day ratings above 1. If you click at sleep ratings above 1, sleep hours above 7.5, and healthy eating above 1. Then we have our averages for that entire month of August. We can see that we have for the entire month, but we've only filled in for 3 days. So it's only going to do the calculations over the 3 days that we filled in. -1, average sleep hours 6.7, average sleep 0.3, 0.3. That's our monthly review. I would say we should actually put a month prep in as well. Month prep. And let's go to this one and we say month prep. That's again where you just prep for the month and put your goals in order to see how you can influence your wheel of life, how you can influence your happiness. Alrighty, so that is our monthly note templates. Just go to source mode to quickly give those who are typing it out a little bit of time. The YAML, month in prep, nothing in it. For the pictures, this is the code. All the days with aliases. We have all our highlights from across all the days. We have all our weekly reviews. We have a log monthly review. Wheel of Life code looks like this. This is not really code. This is just where you put in your information about the different categories, why you're giving it a certain score. The statistics, the calendar graph looks like this. And the averages looks like this. Nice. Next one, let's create the quarterly note. Quarterly note template. And a quarterly note looks like this. Same thing. We have the start of the quarter, and we have that is the quarterly note. We want to add quarterly prep. Then we have the pictures that it returns. We have our standout days, same as our monthly. We have the highlights, same as the monthly, just with different start and end dates. And then we have our monthly reviews. And I just want to check month review. Month review, yep. We have our quarter review. We have our Wheel of Life. It's exactly the same as the month. The only thing I want to change is I want to add this logredis to the quarterly note. You can see in the quarterly note, we still have just the normal bold headings instead of something that we can pull in the future if we want. And then I just want to change this monthly to quarterly soul. And let's just copy that. Quarterly career, log quarterly relationships, log quarterly health, log quarterly personal growth, log quarterly fun, log quarterly social, and log quarterly funds. Again, what this does is it just allows us to return these guys somewhere in a data view later on, if we wish. I don't particularly want to do it right now, but it's easy enough to do. It's going to work exactly the same as these highlights, for instance. The only thing you're going to change is just highlight log, where contains log highlight. Instead of log highlight, we're going to say log quarterly soul, and then it would return all the quarterly souls in this data view query. So easy enough to do, just want to future-proof it. We have our statistics, and the month is just the start month of the quarter, and the averages is just going to go from the start of this quarter to the end of this quarter, and it's going to provide an average. And I think that's about it for the quarterly review. Let's see what it looks like. You can, of course, we need to go to the journals to indicate to the journals community plugin that we have a quarterly note, and we need to indicate where to find the templates, where to place the templates. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to our journals, we're going to go to our quarterly notes, and we are going to say for the default date format, we want to create a year folder in our quarterly folder, if it's not created yet, and it's going to be in this format: year, Q, and what quarter it is. The folder, we want it to be in the journal quarterly. The template is going to be the quarterly note template, and that's about it. So let's say we are on August note. Go to reading mode, and there's no real place here to go to the quarter, but you can see in our calendar, we can click on quarter 3 and it would automatically create it. And there we go. This is what it looks like. We have our statistics, wheel of life, quarter prep. So if you go from the bottom up, we can see we have divide by 0 in expressions. So let's just quickly check what could possibly be the problem. Yes, we have this issue. Log healthy eating, which we need to change, and log healthy eating. And we need to do the same for the calendar graph, log healthy eating, log healthy eating. Healthy food rating, that's fine. So now we can see our averages, but we've only filled in 3 days in August. So that's only going to be over August. And here you can see we have nothing for July, but in August we have days filled in. So that's our statistics. Our wheel of life is what we're going to fill in. Our quarter, we have our monthly reviews. We have our highlights of all the days over the entire quarter, standout days of all the days within our quarter, and the pictures. You can see there's a lot of pictures we haven't created. But when you get to August 4th to 6th, we have the pictures. Nice. That is about it. Now we just need to go make those changes in the quarterly note template as well, which means at the statistics, we want to change to the correct front-end matter field, which is healthy, log healthy eating, and log healthy eating, log healthy eating. And then we are A4 away. Let's go create our yearly note template. Yearly note template. For our yearly note template, it looks something like this. We have our year, statistics, wheel of life, date, start of the year, yearly note. If you go to the year, that's going to return all the pictures for an entire year. We have our standout days. We have our highlights, which is the same as weekly, monthly, yearly, just with different time stamps, meaning starting at the beginning of the year and ending at the end of the year. And we have our monthly reviews, year review, wheel of life, exactly the same thing. Statistics, exactly the same thing. Let's see what that looks like. From here, we can create, from the quarterly note, we can click on the 2024 to create it, or we can just click on the calendar. So let's click on the calendar. And again, we made the same mistake. We haven't specified to the journals community plugin that we have created a yearly note and we want it to be saved in a specific location. So let's delete this one and let's go fix that. In our journals, we go back, you can see our yearly notes, the last one. The default format is going to be the same. So we just want all the years just being dumped in the yearly, that's fine. The folder, we want it to be yearly, and the template is going to be the yearly template. And that is it. So let's try this again. 2024. We have our year, we have our wheel of life, we have our statistics. And there's something wrong. Yes, we need to change the titles. You can see we have our search targets, but we haven't specified our names. So if we go to the yearly note template and we go down to the statistics, we need to add the same as our, let's say, our monthly. If we go down, our monthly have this data set name, and we just need to do the same. So we're just going to copy, going to go to year, and we're going to just paste it. Day rating, sleep hours, healthy eating. Let's see if it works. Invalid init month. Of course, this is our yearly note template. So let's just select all, delete, and Command E to open up our template modal. I'm just going to say yearly note template, or you can just completely delete the note and recreate it from the calendar. And let's see if this works. Okay, that looks fine. Averages looks fine. You can see for January, we don't have any days. We only have days in August. The Wheel of Life, same thing. Don't need to run through it again. Monthly reviews, all the monthly reviews will pop up here. Highlights, all the highlights of the year would pop up here. Standout days, all the standout days from the year would pop up here. And pictures, we have 365 slots for pictures to incentivize you to add 3 pictures, 2 pictures, 1 picture every day. And imagine yourself at the end of the year going through your journal and being able to go through the pictures and being reminded of what happened today, good or bad. Reflection is good. We don't want to forget things that happened. We want to learn. We want to take lessons. We want to take things away from what we experienced. And we want to stimulate our thoughts. We want to stimulate what we have achieved throughout the year, what we've done, the standout days, the things that we can obviously improve on, that we can obviously get better at, but we also want to cherish our wins. And I think with the 3 pictures, you're obviously going to take pictures of things that you like, things that you enjoyed, and hopefully that's going to bring back some good memories. I found that with the 1 year ago today, I look at pictures and it shows that I spent some time with a friend or a family member or a loved one. And I can send them a message saying, hey, last year we did this. How are you doing? If I haven't reached out to them in some time. And I think it's a nice way just to connect and to remind yourself of what is important and what you as a person really enjoy. The final thing that we need to do is create a new note template for any of the notes that you'll create. So we're moving a little bit away from the daily to yearly, but obviously this is going to be your Obsidian Vault. You are not just going to create daily pages, weekly pages, monthly, quarterly, yearly. You will also create normal pages. So for instance, the Wheel of Life is a page that we want to create. And we don't want to type in all of this information at the top every single time. We want some template that we can use. And this is what our template looks like. You're going to right click on templates, new note, and then you just type in new note template. We'll have a creator date, which would automatically fill in based on today's date, updated, exactly the same thing. Alias, tags, summary, and this piece of code, just make sure that the note is titled. So if it's untitled, it's going to give you a box and say, hey, you need to give this note a title. To show you this in action, we can go Command New, and if I press Enter, you can see it's automatically called Untitled. But if I press Enter, nothing happens because we haven't activated our new note yet. So Command E, New Note Template. Now if we activate it, it's going to pick up that this note is not titled properly. And it's going to ask you for a title. Renamed title. And then it renames it automatically. So that's just a little bit of a safety mechanism that you don't have any untitled notes in your system. It's one way to keep your system clean. That's that for most of our templates. I think that is all the main templates that we need. And I'm going to be adding this functionality to the Evergreen Vault. So I'm going to be combining my work vault with this daily to yearly, and basically combining those 2 functionalities and updating the Evergreen Vault. So the Evergreen Vault should have the functionality of both the work vault and the daily to yearly with all the updated format. We can delete this file because we're done with our example, and delete. At the beginning of this video, I alluded that there will be some bonus content. And this bonus content is going to be presenting your data in a little bit more of a visual way. And we're going to do that by using the contribution graph plugin. This heatmap / contribution map is something that I got from the following video, Prakash Joshi Pax, and I've put a link to that video as well. I basically copied his steps. It's quite a good video, so I would suggest that you go and give him a follow and see how he uses this contribution graph. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tailor the contribution graph to our use case. First things first, we want to go to our settings, go to community plugins, click browse, and we are looking for contribution graph. You can see mine is already installed. You will have to click on install, and if there's an activate button, activate it. Now, what is this plugin used for? It's used to quickly have an overview of specific data. So you can think we are logging our sleep hours every single night. If we are sleeping more than 7 hours, we want it to be a dark green, representing that we have slept the optimal amount of hours. If it's between 5 and 7, it must be a little bit of a lighter green to show that we got enough sleep in, but it's not the optimal amount. And then anything below 4 or 5 should be red or orange to signify that we didn't sleep that well. Or we did sleep well, but we didn't get enough hours. And then you can represent it on a graph like this. The quick start, we can see that we can activate it through the command palette. There's different themes, so you can see there's different colors that you can choose, and the colors you can also change to your liking. We have a month track, so you can see every month, you can see all the days of the month, and red would probably signify something bad and lighter would signify something good. You have the calendar view, which you can also determine how far back you want to see these type of visual statistics. And that is basically it. It has a UI or GUI, a graphic user interface, which means that you don't need to code anything. Configurations. If you're ever lost, just come back to this contribution graph and see if there's anything that explains how you can change something. So now that it's installed, let's go and play around with some examples. Let's say this is going to be graph 1. First step, we're going to say Command P to open the command palette. Then you're going to say contribution graph, add heat map. You're going to press enter. Then you are greeted with this user interface. The title of your graph, let's say we want to track our sleep hours. Sleep hours. The type, the style that we want, let's first go with the get style. So this is going to be a big block with all the little squares which has different colors. So let's see how that looks like. Latest days, so the date range. You can choose that latest days, the past 180 days, or the past 30 days, and it would take today's date into consideration, and it would always have a 30-day rolling visualization, meaning from today, 30 days back. So let's say we want to see the whole year. Now what this is date range, latest whole year, but then it says the latest 30 years. We probably don't want it, so I'm just curious to see the latest year's information. The page, keep it as page. Here you can specify which folder it needs to look in. In our case, we only wanted to go look at our journal daily folder, so let's just specify it there. The date field, let's say file name. We can leave this as detect, auto detect. Count field, this we want to change it to page property. And now you can fill in your data fields. We have 4 data fields. We have log sleep hours, log sleep rating, log day rating, log healthy eating. And you can choose. So if we were to start typing log, you can see our 4 data fields, which it automatically picks up from the metadata or inline metadata. And let's say we are interested in log sleep hours. We click it. Then we can go to style settings to see what it would actually look like. So if we take everything as default, we can click on a preview. And this is very important because once you create it, you can't go back to this menu, which means you need to go through all the steps again. So I would advise you to look at the preview. And here you can see we have for the 4th to the 10th, we have information filled in. And if you click on it, you can see 8 hours, 7, 5, 2, 5, 6, 7.5. But they all are green. That's probably not what we want. So let's say the cell rules. Let's select a theme. Let's just keep it the same. Let's choose the default theme, and then we can see what rules they apply. These are the figures that we can change, and this is where you need to do a little bit of math. This basically says that if the sleep hours is between 1 and 2, then we're going to give this color. If the sleep hours are between 2 and 5, it's going to be this color. So anything up until 4 hours and just above 0 hours, we want it to be, or to signify, bad sleeping. So we're going to give it the reddest red that we can possibly imagine. Then anything between 4 and 5, we can give orange. And sometimes you just need to move a little bit up and down in order for this to work. An orange, which signifies it's not the worst, but it's also not the best. Then between 6 and 7.5, let's say 7. We want it to be light green to signify this was good. And then anything more than 7 and let's say less than 24, hopefully you're not going to sleep more than 24 hours, we want to have a dark green. And now if we preview it, we can easily see we had 8 hours, 8 hours, and then these nights we had terrible sleep hours. We had 5, 2, and 5. And then we're back to 6, which signifies that it was okay. And then we have the dark green. Obviously, you can change this to your needs. You can cater this to how you want to see it visually represented. But for now, I would say this is fine. You can then see if there's anything else that we want to change and go play around with all of these little settings. So if you preview, you can see it's more of a square. If you put circle, you can see that it's going to be circles, but I'm going to stay with rounded. And then we click save. So now we have this piece of code. And this is essentially what the UI generated. So you can just go type this out by starting with contribution graph, but you don't need to. And this is what you're going to see. So now we've done this for sleep hours. Let's say we want to create another one based on our sleep hours, which just covers the last month. Let's go to graph number 2. You say command P. We will say contribution graph. And let's say we want the month track. And we want the latest whole 6 months. We're going to keep this as page. You can put this in, but those data fields only pops up in our daily note, so you don't need to fill in the location where it needs to go look for these fields, but you can. It's maybe a good thing to do, but for our use case, we don't need it. Date field, file name, count, page property. Let's go with sleep hours again. Style settings. So where we can see what it looks like. And here we need to go change it again. Let's keep to the default one. Let's not make this more complicated than what needs to be. And 4 is going to be dark red. Between 4 and 5. 4 and 6. Going to be orange-ish. Between 6 and 7. No, this is a little bit different than the previous one, but that's also fine. We want a lighter green. Then we want dark red for anything above 7. Then we can see what it looks like. This is a nice little visual representation. Obviously, we have a little bit of a different range that we specified than the previous one. But here you can see what it looks like. March, April, May, June. Let's see if we can quickly just change the month track to calendar and see what it looks like. Yep. So now we can see what this looks like. This is actually a nice little way to play around with the different styles. What would the get style look again? We can go back, press preview. But this is how you can quickly see the different views that you want. And remember, this is rolling, which means it takes from this current month. It would take the latest month. If you say latest whole month, it's not going to be static. It's going to be a page that always takes today's date, what month are we in, or what year are we in, based off what you specified. And it would take the last, let's say, 6 months. Or if we say fixed date, then it's just going to be a date range. So this is maybe something that you can do every month, but I don't think we need it. But latest days, you can say the latest 60 days. And then you can preview it. And you can see it only takes the latest 60 days. Let's go with a whole month. You can say 12 months. And you can see again what it looks like. So if we save, we have our first graph. Now we have our second graph. And this would be quite cool to compare it to previous months. Now, when I wanted to use this functionality, I ran into a little bit of a snag when it comes to my rating system. So you might want to change this rating system if you want to use these graphs more effectively. And what I mean by this is if I go to one of the days that we have filled in, I use a rating system for this ratings. So log sleep rating, log healthy eating rating, log day rating, from -2, which signifies the worst day, to 2, which signifies the best day. This contribution graph does not work too well with minus figures. You can do it, but it's a little bit more difficult. And I had to have a little bit of a workaround, which if it's 0, it basically stays like these little blocks. So if you had a day rating of 0, you can't really give it a color. If you want to signify that -2 is red and 2 is green, 0 should then always be this plain color, which means it looks a little bit like a gap, but it's not. And that's the only workaround that I found. And if you find this confusing, let's just go through an example. So command P, contribution graph. We want this name of this visual to be log day rating. Let's say we want get style. Yeah, latest 180 days, that's also fine. We want file name, and the page property is going to be log day rating. Now you can see that we've only filled in 3 days, so I'll fill in a little bit more. But here we have 2, here we have 1, here we have -2, and we obviously want to change this a little bit because this day was 1 and this day was -2, but they have the same color, which is not what we want. And I know for a fact that the next day, meaning the 7th, I fold it in as 0. And here we also have 0, 0, 0, and it just keeps it with no color. So there's obviously some things that we need to change. So let's go to style settings. And we're going to select the minimum theme, the default theme. And then we need to start thinking about, okay, how do we want to visually represent this? So if we go with the default, we can see how it specifies the colors for different days. But we have a scale of -2 to 2. -2 being the worst, 2 being the best. So let's say for -2, we want it to be red to signify it was a bad day. If our day rating is bigger or equal than -2 and smaller than -1, then we want it to be a dark red, signifying a bad day. And now if it's -1 or smaller than, and this is where a tricky part comes in, 0.01, meaning -0.01. And this is just to signify that for the days that it did not pick up this log day rating, for the days that we haven't filled in, it would capture those days as 0 as well, which is a little bit frustrating. But for this one, -0.01, you can just follow along and then see if it makes sense later. Then for the next one, it's going to be from 0.01, so just above 0, to if the day rating is above 0 and smaller than 1.01, then we want it to be a light green to signify it was okay day. And if it's bigger than 0.01, bigger or equal than 0.01, and smaller than, let's say, 2.01, because otherwise it's not going to take 2 as an input. And we have everything, but then we obviously still miss the 0 days, and that's where I say the complexity comes in, because the 0 days won't be picked up. And that is also fine. If it makes more sense, we can also just add, if it's nothing, then let's just say pink. Let's see what it does. Let's say 0 and 0 and preview. Then it also does nothing. So if it's smaller or equal than 0 or smaller than 0.01, you need to adhere to both. So this one doesn't really make sense. So let's just take this out because everything else is going to be captured. So this is how we would, I know it's a little bit confusing, but this is how we would do it based off the -2 to 2 rating. That's what I'm saying. You might want to change it to a 1 to 10 rating. But for me, I am sticking with -2 to 2. I find it works for me, and I'm not willing to change it yet, but that's just an idea for you. So here we can see that, might just put it in. Then we just make this in the middle. So if you put this in with no values, then you're just going to put that in the middle. So you at least know that in between the colors, you know that that's a 0 day. And let's save and see what it looks like. Here we can see log day rating for the last 6 months. If we go to the 7th day and we say log sleep rating, go to the 8th day and we say -1. And we just need to change these guys to property type number. And we might need to change it in the template as well. So daily note template, that's fine. Just see if all the other ones. Are you sure you want to change the type? Yeah, sure, I want to change it. And yeah, I changed everything else, so just make sure that is correct. Then we go back to our heat map and see what it looks like. Sometimes it won't reflect immediately, so then you need to say Command P and reload app without saving. And then you go back to your heat map. So we just want to make sure that these are number format for each of our days. And if we go to our daily note template, make sure the same for it to be picked up as numbers. And then if we go back to our heat map, you can see what it looks like. We have a we have a 2 day, a 1 day, a -2, orange is going to be -1. So let's say we have a 0 day, which we can have. Let's say on the 7th we have a 0 day instead of a -1. It's just going to be a blank. So that's the workaround that we have. And you can do something similar for all the other metadata fields that we have, meaning log day rating, log sleep rating, log healthy eating rating. And this is an easy way to build it. I think this is quite intuitive, except for the little bit of ranges for the colors that you need to specify. But I don't think that's too complicated. And it also means that you don't need to play around with any of this code. So you can change this code, saying for this graph 2, we don't specify the title, which just says contributions. But we know that this is also our sleep rating. So we can say sleep, not sleep rating, sleep hours tracker. And you can see it changes sleep hours tracker. And there's your little extra nugget of goodness. And you can think of creating these graphs, which you can then refer to when you do your weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. So you just create your note, which then obviously has the information for the last month or the last 6 months or the last year. And then while you're doing your weekly review, you can just quickly come to these heat maps, which would always have the latest information, and visually see how your month has been, how your quarter has been, how your sleep for the quarter has been. You can see that's quite fun to do reviews with everything just automatically being there. And that is it for the golden nuggets. One final thing that I want to do is I want to change these logredis. We're using the task system in order to pull everything through to their different locations. So for instance, this log highlight, we want to pull through to our weekly / monthly / yearly. So if you go to week and you go to highlights, we want it to pull it through here, but we're using the task system. And if you're familiar with my logredis system, it utilizes this format. But I don't want a check or uncheck mark. I don't just want the circle. I want things that is logredis to look cleaner in a way. So we're going to change what this looks like if we put a little dot here. And one way to do that is through CSS code. So you don't need to know what I'm doing, but if you like this, you can just follow along. You can type out the code as you see it. But you need to understand, all you need to know is we're going to change what this icon looks like. So we go to settings, go to appearance, and then all the way at the bottom, you can see CSS snippets. We are going to create a snippet. So open snippets folder, and then we have something like this. And you can see with this snippets folder, there's nothing. So we are going to create a new file. So in this folder that you just opened from your Obsidian, you can click refresh and you can see that we have a task to bullet. And if we go there, you can see that it's this guy. And if we open up this guy with any text editor app that you have, this is the code which Obsidian is going to take into consideration. It's going to go look at the task list, so that bubble of the task that we use for logredis, and it's going to make some changes. And this just specifies to Obsidian what the changes has to be make it bigger. Let's see if we can zoom in. Typing out the URL might be a little bit cumbersome for those that don't want to buy the vault that I make available with all of this in it. But you can just go to Lucide, and Lucide has all of these little icons that you can choose from. So if you click on an angry face, you can copy URL, or you can still edit it. So let's say see it in action, and then you can make a couple of changes, make it bigger, make it smaller. But we're going to copy data URL, and then that URL is essentially going to take that icon. Then you can just paste it in. Let's make this smaller. You can paste it in here. But essentially what this is a dot that I imported from Lucide. So this Lucide is quite a nice place if you understand CSS to customize your Obsidian a little bit. And yeah, that's about it. So if you go back to Obsidian, let's maximize this. We can see that this task to bullet CSS has been created. Now we just need to activate it. So we click exit, we can see that the check marks changed to these little dots. And that to me just looks prettier. If you don't want to make the change, you don't have to. For me, it's just a personal choice to have a cleaner system. Now we've come to the end of this video. Again, if you don't want to write this out yourself, if you don't want to go through a tedious process of setting up your Obsidian like we just went through in this 2.5 hour video, you can go to my website, Construct.workbench, and go to services, and you can choose to buy the Obsidian Daily Yearly Rollup Vault. Everything completed, ready for you to use. I also have consulting services in which I help people to set up their personal knowledge management system quicker, help them understand important concepts, and tailor their PKM to their needs. If you want to purchase it, you can go to Buy Me Coffee. And if you would like to support me, you can also just support me at the top. So if you would like to support me, feel free to come buy me a coffee and I'll send you back a thank you note. Till next time, stay illuminated. Bye.